Okay.
Yeah, there you go. All
Um, so,
right.
I absolutely despise the majority of the console. I think they're
Okay.
useless. I think you're one of the few that is not.
Oh, I appreciate
Um,
that.
I know what I'm saying sounds nasty, but I'm not here to, I am not running for mayor to boost anyone's ego or be considerate about their emotions when they're in a position that um, empowers them over the populace.
Sure.
Um, I'm going for Crane's throat. I'm going for Max's throat. I'm going for Siobhan's throat. I'm going for Murphy's Braun's throat, which is probably the worst of the bunch.
What? I don't disagree with that one. All right. That's good to hear.
Um, and then Cornwood, I haven't seen him, so whatever. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how he managed to get in that position, given that he's a captain. That's another matter in and of itself.
Sure.
Um,
I can answer that if you're interested.
yeah,
From
please.
my understanding, since he was given the position in the middle of his term, there was a discussion that since he was voted into it, that he would be allowed to maintain his position on the council, but he would not be allowed to rerun.
See, I don't like that. I think that's lazy, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
Um, and laziness is kind of the underlining adjective that I think best describes what I've witnessed has transpired over the last 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can come across as like a know-it-all, whatever, but I think I'm really just spouting common sense. And what I mean by that is I like to give the story about how I even became a candidate, and it really was me genuinely just wanting to do a little bit of cell rep. I put my number on the yellow pages every day, read it out, not getting calls. Why is that? I eventually get Fiona Stewart, who hits me up and says, "Hey, I was forced into becoming a hostage by the police department at a cash exchange robbery." And I was like, "What?" I then bring her down to the police station, find out that there is no police report regarding these events. I then do the next logical step, which is have her create a what is it a report, a victim report,
Mm-hmm.
um, to which we can then make forward movement because that needs to happen. Well, I'm then met by Jaden something dispatcher
Ah, yes, dispatch.
who
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely useless, rude, and has no concept of bedside manners, who talks down to her and lets her know that she's going to wait 5 days for us to get the report that she's supposed to be writing right then and there. Um, I was rather straightforward with her uselessness, which then resulted in her making a phone call to Murphy Braun and Siobhan Fitzpatrick. Um, which, quite frankly, neither of those things really bother me, nor the fact that she updated my profile to state how shit of a person I was and that I should be trespassed, which
What?
inherently seems not only unprofessional, but an abuse of her ability to update MDT profiles and inherently puts me in a position where I can be unfairly judged by other members of the PD.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, these things don't bother me because I've had plenty worse said about me over the many years, but it bothers me that someone that the police department as an entity can do such things because if it happened to me, who else is it happening to? I then go and deep dive into the FOIA process and learn that it is not in legislation. I then learned from other lawyers that they've been having trouble with FOIAs, including um, uh, um, one particular lawyer who waited 45 days to get a FOIA, which put his client past the 30-day statute of limitation.
Right.
Apparently, these complaints keep going up the chain, and nothing's coming out of it. So I go speak to Slacks. I wait. I speak to Bailey. Um, he tells me, the proper channels. I talked to Slacks, who spoke to Bailey about these issues. Slacks wastes 45 minutes of my life. I let him know. I then go talk to Ruby, who pretty much says, fuck the victims. And is more interested.
That's crazy.
It was beside me that she was so uninterested for about 50 minutes, pretty much trying to think what kind of evil, schemy shit I'm trying to do, when, Canter, I just need paperwork.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Like, it's like I'm doing something evil. But the only time at which her ears perk up is when I reference that the FOIAs don't match what Moulton wrote in probably a drunken state versus what the PD has. And she immediately begins to, her ears perk up, and already there's like this clear insinuation that Tilly, one of the dispatchers, leaked something to me when I made it rather clear to her that Bailey sent me both of these documents. It didn't matter. There's a witch hunt for that poor woman. Who, mind you, only gave me a document we were both under the belief I would have had. The only reason I didn't have it is because my keys were fucked, right? So I didn't have access to the DOJ documents. So she was just giving me something that you would think I already would have access to. Little do we know they've got their own fucking document. Then, Bailey contacts Crane, which I didn't find out till much later. And very obviously, members of the police department started going crying to Crane. Look at Nino. He's asking for FOIAs. Like, can you believe this? I'm now met with Crane, who comes to the defensive, pretty much saying, why did you wake me up when I didn't call him? I was going to actually write up legislation, present to the city council, and then let y'all do your work. Do your magic. And that was going to be done through Murphy Braun. You know how my conversation with Murphy Braun went?
How?
For the past 2 weeks, he's been hiding in his apartment because he thinks Max and Siobhan are going to kill him, and that no other lawyer has brought any of this to his attention, and that he doesn't have time for your FOIA. This is an ex-judge,
crazy.
Now representative of all the lawyers in the city, who had 3 votes in his favor. I was one of those votes, and he's giving me this fucking shit. So I told him to suck my dick. He's useless, and I hope Max does kill him. Because it'd make everyone's life easier.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Because it's like My Chemical Romance waste of a seat at the city council. Literally is not doing the most basic thing he can do. And from my understanding, the only 2 things that he did do was raise the pay of the city council and pass legislation that assists his now girlfriend, assuming that even is his girlfriend. Some musical arts thing.
Loudly broke up with him in one of the meetings. I don't know if they are still together. It was really funny. I think Ursula published the video.
Really? I'm going to have to take a look.
Oh, it's hilarious.
So all of what my reason for campaigning really stems from my agitation over the ineffectiveness of the city council. Now, I know you being one of the members of it, there's probably a lot more insight that you have in regards to it, but I think it quite frankly just sounds like a scuffed Game of Thrones where there's so much self-servingness, including Crane's, where, mind you, after my agreement with him on Saturday was that legislation for FOIA will get passed, blah, blah, blah. He then reintroduces the same, he tells me he wrote a draft. He's going to go on Mount Chiliad, write a draft. He then tells me that it's going to be a couple days because he's still working on it. And then I am met with a conversation where he reopens and expects me to have like nuanced report numbers and names of this incident and that incident, reopens the entire thing while we're writing the FOIA, where the intent of that meeting was like, let's make sure it's done, only to then find out the 3 hours were wasted because Bailey actually wrote it and Crane plagiarized it in front of me. So
that's interesting.
I don't know how that occurred, nor do I care how it occurred, but I do know that this is another example of ineffectiveness. And so my intent, like I said, is to ensure that the forefront of my campaign is transparency. I think uh, um, people should, I get there's like a meet, you know, city council meetings can take some time.
Mhm.
Um,
Up to 5 hours in my experience. Yeah.
I think it's significantly more effective by having our lawyers be the legislators. Like
Okay.
obviously, independently, like for example, you could lean on a lawyer because you want to see some change in the medical space and have them through you bring that legislation up. And it's already cooked, not the bad kind of cooked, but the good kind of cooked.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and now it's like, okay, now you've got something that's already like almost completed and discuss the points. Shouldn't really take a lot of time. And then it's kicked back, and then by the next meeting, it's ready to go. And
That's not bad. I mean, I'm certainly no law professional. Any legislation I've tried to write is very half baked because
sure,
I do not have that scope of knowledge.
absolutely. But that lawyer knows how to do it, and
Yeah.
he's working with you and the doctors. So inherently, like, why should a bunch of other bozos at the table, like, I don't know anything about medical shit, right?
That's fair
But
enough. Yeah.
if you're coming through and you're like, yo, here's the proposed legislation and it fulfills our needs of the doctors, and then we talk about it, we bring our own, PD liaison, here's a PD issue, da, 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 da. You kick it back for the feedback, it comes back, and boom, boom. The job of the council should be to review these things and get it into a state, ensure that when the vote is passed, that it doesn't actually pass into legislation, but rather it passes the sniff test of the public, and then it goes to public vote. And what that
Yeah, that's
does
not a bad idea.
is the public vote is a layer of accountability. Because if the city council is pushing a bunch of dog shit, people are going to be like, what is this anti-dog act? Or like this, don't,
Anti-mom acts, yeah.
don't have like a pink colored vehicle act, right? They're going to
Right.
see like establishment of private practice law or whatever it is, they see these things coming up for vote. That in and of itself is accountability. And our accountability is that we're seeing these things getting passed because we're presenting them with bills that are cooked fully. Now,
That's not bad. A lot of our meetings is a lot of workshopping. We kind of pitch one idea for things. Things get changed around a lot throughout them.
yeah,
If we can come in with a solid plan from the start and we don't spend so much time going back and forth on it, that would be helpful, honestly,
yeah,
to move things along.
it's very much the way I see it is the city council is effectively a business. It is a business. It's why even in the United States they call it the executive branch.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's got to run as a business where we are the executives at that table. And it is those that are under our function that present what it is that their needs are. It's like, Steve Jobs, when he sat at a table, well, actually, let's use, Microsoft as an example with Sanjit, whatever the fuck his last name is. He doesn't say, all right, guys, what do you want to do, everyone at the table, with the new Xbox? No, they're going to ask the guy that runs the games division, what they're cooking up, and he presents it, and it's only executive responses that are given back. Those other opinions at that table should not come from, well, you know what, Canter, I think doctors should have like inserts, like should have some, insert bullshit displaying I know nothing about doctor stuff.
Yeah,
It
that's fair.
doesn't. It
Honestly, we don't even ask for much other than pay, and we got royally fucked over on that one. So, if you have anything in regards
yeah,
to
thank you the
that,
Prime
that'll be
sub.
what my doctors care about, to be frank. But
I
I
want
definitely
to.
care about the politics of it too.
Yeah, I think pay is like interesting, but it's so easily solvable because
It
if
is, yeah.
if any of the branches of the table are unable to get the funding they need, then it's failing already.
I
And
don't disagree to that. That is, you're speaking my language there.
yeah, and I think that the patient should be so like simple, should be such a simple conversation in those meetings that instead, I think what needs to be discussed is how do we get the psych department up? How do we get Sandy Hospital up and going? How do we handle cases of the hospital being used as a easy form of arrests? Just
I
like
hate that. That is not something I will ever stand for. I
yeah,
have in the past literally warned Rami not to come to the hospital because cops were looking for him. I don't put up with
that
that shit.
shouldn't happen.
So
Look,
yeah, I
between
shouldn't have
us,
to though. Yeah.
I think, I heard, I didn't want to like interject while you were explaining about like how you want to get, increase the amount of doctors. And I don't like pay being the solution. I think it's a very lazy approach. You want doctors that want to be doctors. You want cops like fuck those two guys that are trying to get applied. You want people that want to be cops. You need people running businesses that are passionate about business. And the question is, how do you entice people? In the same way that why are lawyers being lost, it's because people don't want to be lawyers because there's so much headache and they can't do anything. Well, I want to remove those boundaries, remove those things. I don't want people to say, like the business stuff. A lot of people are like, well, why aren't people getting arrested? Why are individuals not getting arrested that don't have a business license? Well, my thing is, why instead of focusing on arresting them, we say, with a business license, here are the huge things you get with it. Here are the benefits, right? So you're encouraging people instead of hitting them with a fucking stick and saying no.
I think I said a very similar thing to that one time when we were discussing business stuff. We shouldn't be punishing people for trying. We should be making it rewarding to try the right way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with that. I think that pay is just one facet of things. Don't get me wrong. A lot of my doctors will care about it, and if you say that you want higher pay, that you might get their votes. But at the end of the day, it's more morale than anything else. That is a tiny part of what goes into the morale that makes people want to be on duty. It's the same shit with lawyers, right? You say they're dealing with so much. That's what's cutting down on the morale. That's what's making them not want to be around. And
we get paid $7.50.
Yeah, that's the lowest. That's the minimum wage now. Actually, we legislated that. That's the minimum government wage.
That is crazy. Yeah, I don't know what Brainiac. I don't know. I think it's not only that, but it's just they can't with this Floyd thing. They literally can't do anything. It's like you're not getting you're not allowed to do step one right away. But pay is not going to be an issue. I think doctors should be the highest paying job in the city. Quite frankly.
I'll tell my doctors that, and like I said, that might get you votes. I care about it more well-rounded, but they like that part.
That's an easy one. I don't see why you wouldn't be. It takes the most amount of skill. You save lives. So what the fuck? Secondly, I genuinely want to work with you or whoever takes that seat to find ways to make it more beneficial to being a doctor. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means, but we can figure that out. So people who aren't interested in just the pay say, oh man, I want to be a doctor because I can do these more doctor-like things, right? And hopefully that encourages the staffing increase. I do want to see the psych department up and going. Believe it or not, about 5 months ago.
We actually do have progress on that. Yeah, what was you going to say?
I wanted to be a psychologist 5 months ago, and it was
really?
To hear that it's still not a thing is like, let's. What do we need to do to make it happen?
We are getting there. They can officially sign in now. I cannot fucking believe it took this long.
Oh, hell yeah.
If that was in my hands, it would have been done ages ago, but now they actually can. I am also working on actually writing legislation for the process for how psychiatric evaluations are handled. Because right now, no one really fucking knows. So hopefully that will help out lawyers and other members of the DOJ as well.
Yeah, I think that is fantastic. I hate the answer of no. I hate the lack of progress. I absolutely despise the notion that you need city construction to do basic things, because I come from a time when there was nothing and, you had to use Google Docs.
Hell yeah.
Our imagination is significantly bigger than any form of like, app that might pop up on a phone. There are
Agreed.
solutions
Yeah.
that can be found with the tools that we have. We have more tools today than we ever did. So
Yeah.
I want to hear not no, I want to hear how do we get there? How do
Okay.
we figure
I
it
like
out?
that.
Let's figure that out. And
Yeah, I
so
completely agree. On the wider scale of things, to give you kind of a clue in of what I've been doing, I'm
mhm,
kind of thinking the same thing. I want to think bigger on this and not wait for someone to hand shit to me. I put in a business request for a pharmacy.
mm,
We do not have means of production. However, I know that there are many ways around that I can figure out. I intend to do this to hire on my doctors, to give them more to do, to get them more involved in the hospital and things outside of just the hospital as well. So you're speaking my fucking language there. Unfortunately, it has not been approved because
yeah,
Max has not been around. So
yeah.
I'm
No,
feeling that myself too.
and I think that's where this this Department of Commerce comes into play, because I want to put people at the helm that have the experience, but also are not going to be vacant on the seat. They will be judged based on their ability to process business applications and give the feedback. And so let's say it
Correct.
were to
Yeah.
go through there, they'd be like, oh, this is coming in from the hospital. That goes up on the rack, you know?
Okay.
Um, and I think
Do you
that'll
have anyone in mind for those positions and like chief of staff and things?
that is something I'm gonna. So my trajectory here is these high level platform points are going to
Mhm.
be I'm going to finish developing them this weekend and publish them to a website where everyone can see. Helps
Perfect.
me
Okay.
remain accountable as well for my intents. And then that's going to be that next step, is finding the people that are going to be part of the party, and that's where the next thing comes in. I'm
Okay.
not getting
Yeah, that makes
myself
sense.
elected. I want to get a squad of individuals elected. I want to start talking and cooking in advance of an election, so that the day one, we're just working. We're pumping out. Instead
Okay.
of
Sounds great to me. To fill you in, I very likely will not be running for healthcare liaison again.
mm,
I would like to be promoted to the board of directors and a high command position within the hospital, since
ooh,
I do not want to do what Cornwood did and run both at the same time. I prioritize my hospital. It will very likely be one of a few people in the
mm,
healthcare seat, likely from the hospital. We have the highest voting base versus the EMS. So very likely be my fellow attending Ryan Wilson. I'd be happy to introduce you to him
that would
if
be
he does
fantastic.
decide to run. Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I do work hand in hand with him every single day. We're on the same page with a lot of things.
Mm.
And since I might be that even higher position soon, I'd be happy to continue to help you out.
That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
My
of
whole
course.
thing with this is I want to bring the power back to the people. And I think what I described, in this meeting thus far kind of shows how I think that can be achieved. And it
Yeah.
needs, you know, like-minded individuals to take those seats to make something happen, instead of having frivolous, un like uh, uh, you know, wasting time arguing over bullshit in a meeting,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, there's been so much of that. So much of that. And a lot of very self serving legislation, which we
It
need to fucking move past, man. We need to make progress instead of constantly
agreed.
fucking attacking enemies with our legislation. That
Agreed.
doesn't fucking help anyone.
Um I at this stage am rather confident I'm going to win. I'm going to be transparent. I'm
Hmm.
probably going to pull in another candidate and have them run beside me
Okay.
to push out Oswaldo and Pred.
Oh,
And that'll be
interesting.
3 votes. I
Okay.
say this not because of an inflated ego, which I understand I do got some of it, but it's easy from, the hole that's been left behind, but from the votes I've been guaranteed up until now. So
Yeah.
why not take
Sounds good.
both seats plus the third plus some others, so we can start to develop a city that people want to live in, and so that the next set of consoles um, have something to let so that you can have the Osvaldos and the Preds and all the, rinky-dinky meme mayors without
Sure.
it blowing everything up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. We kind of need to build that foundation first. And frankly, with at least this term, we have not. We have not made any progress. I might be the only person on the city council that can admit that I haven't been perfect myself. And as a council, we sure as hell have not been.
Mm. Yeah. I have watched some of it, but I'm gonna listen to some of it back.
Okay.
But if you have any ideas for people that you think I need to be in contact with, or would make for good individuals to put into these positions, like the Department of Commerce and whatnot, please do let me know.
Mhm. Sure, absolutely, I will. Yeah, I will keep you in mind.
All right.
And I will pass on what you shared with me to my doctors. Like I've mentioned, they're pretty straightforward. They're just looking for higher pay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to promise that, but
Oh, it's
but I
done.
will pass on that you mean well.
Easy for you should be the highest paid. Doesn't make
Hell
any sense
yeah.
for you not to be.
Hey, they'll love to hear that. Then I will let them know. And also, we do have a doctor meeting every Saturday about 2 hours after storm. If you ever want to come by that early and
I'll
get
swing
your
by tomorrow
doctors yourselves,
or
okay,
Saturday.
perfect. Yeah, Saturday. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Easy.
we invited a couple people for the last round as well. We'd be happy to have you.
All right. Easy. Well, thank you so
All
much.
right.
I appreciate it.
Oh, actually, maybe we should do next week. I just realized.
Oh,
This week's an ethics panel regarding the fact that everyone thinks that I'm sleeping with someone who's not my husband. So you could come to that if you wanted.
Yeah, why
but
not?
It might not be. Okay, all right.
All right.
Oh boy.
All right.
I'm not involved in a sex scandal.
Yeah, but wait? Can they actually bring you to an ethics board based on,
It's unprecedented territory for the hospital.
Okay.
Well,
Well-
but they're doing it, and so here we are.
All right. Well, yeah.
Everyone else
I'll
is
see you
gonna be
Saturday.
there. Fuck it. Yeah, I'll see you there.
All right.
Oh
Well-
boy. All right.
Well, Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
of course.
And I'm
Absolutely.
available
Happy to help.
anytime.
Yeah.
And that includes via email. So like if there's something pops up at any point, you're like, "Yo, can we meet at this day, this time?"
Mhm.
I'll find myself through.
Sounds great. Same with me if you
All
ever
right.
need anything from the hospital.
Awesome. Thank you very
All right,
much.
You have a good one, Nino.
You too.